Stephen A. basically pointed out why Jaylen Brown wasn't getting deals that everyone else is getting, right? Without understanding, Jaylen Brown has discretion to pick whatever deal he wants. How many of us watch Pootie Tang? So the whole premise behind Pootie Tang was this superhero in the hood that represents the people. Then he crossed over and sold out and was selling poison back to the people. Jaylen Brown not one of them dudes. So the endorsements and things that y'all think enticing to him ain't enticing to him. He want to create his own. So somebody like Stephen A. don't like that. But he can say, I respect it, but it didn't sound like you was understanding of the path he chose.
Stephen A. snitches at it again. Now this time, Stephen A. snitch is going back and forth again with Jaylen Brown. We remember last year when he came out and said that Jaylen Brown was just not liked. Players didn't like him. Madison Avenue didn't like him. Now remember, this guy gonna say, well, he never gets in trouble. He's the one of the good black guys, right? He doesn't do anything wrong, right? But at the same time, Madison Avenue is not paying attention to him for endorsements deals because he's too black, right? Well, Stephen A. Smith is full of crap because if you say that he's the perfect guy, then why you spend so much time getting at him? Why don't you get at Madison Avenue? Why don't you hold Madison Avenue accountable for being racist? How about that? Because these other guys, they smile for the camera, they play the role. He don't want to play the role. He want to do things for his community and want to be vocal about it. But all of a sudden, he's a problem. And now all of a sudden, you go after him. You come on here and you run your mouth like this.
You know that the Boston Celtics are the reigning NBA champions, right? And that final MVP honors went to Jaylen Brown, right? Well, Brown had an interesting shirt on that seemed to be aimed at moi while holding the MVP trophy, preparing for the parade. Take a look at this, y'all.
How we feeling, JB?
Can't complain.
You ready? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go.
That shirt, state your sources. He was referring to comments I made stating an anonymous source that told me Brown's quote-unquote attitude was hurting his marketability. Even though I didn't say about attitude, I said he's not likable in some people's eyes. That's what I specifically said. No problem. State your source. That's not going to happen. It'll never happen. Any journalist worth his salt ain't naming his sources. So let's get that out the way first. Number two. Did y'all know that Jaylen Brown's mama came up to me to give me a hug in Dallas? The day that they got annihilated in Dallas, they were down by 48 points. And they lost that game. They got shellacked before winning game 5. This is game 4. Mama came up to me. Do you know who came up to me hours later that evening after Mama had come up to me to give me a big hug? Mama Jaylen Brown's mama. You know who came up to me? You know, grandma. Now, I know he had a death in the family that he alluded to, and God bless her wonderful soul. And what have you. That's who was introduced to me by his brother, by the way. Do you know what they said? They thanked me. You know why they thanked me? Because they got the message. I have no problem with Jaylen Brown. I got nothing but love for Jaylen Brown. A black dude, highly intelligent, great player, incredible role model, don't get in any trouble. His head is on right, disciplined, focused, tenacious, successful, wealthy now with his new $304 million contract from last summer. And oh, by the way, he's a champion. Where the endorsement deals? Why have I been seeing Jason Tatum in every damn commercial? How can we see all of these teammates from AD and LeBron to, you know, PG and Kawhi to Steph and Clay, and the list goes on and on? Why do we see all of these brothers with marketing opportunities, but we don't see the same for Tatum with Brown? I wasn't calling out Brown like Brown did something wrong. I was highlighting the fact that he's all the things you should want in a role model who's an athlete. And Madison Avenue ain't giving him enough shine and attention.
Now you go and you say that his mother and them came up and gave you a hug and was like, thank you. That's not the problem. The problem is you are acknowledging that there is something wrong with the system. This guy is not a thug, not a criminal. He doesn't get a whole bunch of technicals. He doesn't get kicked out of games. All he wants to do is do right by his people. He's vocal about doing right by his people. He talks about history. He doesn't rub shoulders the wrong way. He's not well liked. Why? Why aren't you defending him if you can come out in one breath and say how positive he is, but then you're coming out saying, well, he's just not well liked? Why you have to highlight that? How about you come out and say, well, you guys are wrong. You guys are wrong, and it's time we change this narrative about black men. How about you call out Wall Street? How about you call out all these people on Madison Avenue? How about that? Oh, you'll never do that. So basically what you're telling Jaylen is Jaylen should shut up and get on board. That's what you're doing. Who you think you're talking to? So Jaylen, he saw this and he was incensed about this. He was very upset and he responded.
Get into the good stuff. Last week I had an exchange online with Stephen A. Where he was vocal about what he thought I needed to do, and he also said some other things. So let's watch it together on stream chat. We can react to it together. This is just we're just doing some investigative journalism. This is one of the clips that was going viral from our exchange. This was his response.
On Jaylen Brown's program. You know where Jason Tatum was?
Let's start it over.
That Jason Tatum hasn't appeared on Jaylen Brown's program.
Okay.
You know where Jason Tatum was? Right here on First Take.
Let's pause right there. What type of journalism is this? Jason Tatum hasn't been on my stream, and this is what we're talking about on First Take? What if JT just don't like being somewhere in an uncontrolled environment? Why are you doing journalism on me having guests on my stream? And this is a part of the reason why I started streaming. This is a part of the reason why people use the term clown and it synchronizes with someone like Stephen A. Smith. Because this is what you're using your platform for. What are you talking about? Let's continue.
Jason Tatum. So in other words, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum showed up on First Take before he showed up on your damn show.
What does that have to do with anything? What? This is journalism? This is why I started streaming, chat. What does that have to do with basketball? What does that have to do with performance? What does that have to do with anything relative to like the game? You know what I mean? It doesn't. And this is where, why people call him out, because he uses his platform and his nature, and his nature can be, this causes issues.
And then this is stuff that just flying over your head? You think nobody notices that hasn't happened? You're saying it's the year that Jason Tatum was down with an Achilles tear is your favorite year? The year that Jason Tatum had to sit out, this closeout game 7 because of the injury incurred against.
What's up, Jess?
Can y'all hear?
I turned it up. I can hear it. Here, ready? Pull.
That's your favorite year? The year?
I think they might be able to hear it better now.
Pull this up a little bit.
Which one?
That top, yeah, go this way. Keep going, try there. Yeah, let's see now.
That you lose 3-1. Of all the stars in the history of the Boston Celtics, you the only one because you were driving a bus. Ain't nobody pointing to Jason Tatum. He was sitting.
Right.
He was sitting. He was in street clothes. You the only one. The only star in the history of the Boston Celtics that ever lost a 3-1 lead and surrendered it, and that's your favorite year. Why? Because you and your teammates developed better chemistry and camaraderie? You understand what I'm saying? Because you overcame adversity?
See, this is where I gotta pause again. See, this is a narrative that he's creating. This is in journalism. This is him making his own opinion and formalizing it about what I had to say on his platform. And this is why, respectfully, a lot of people say, fuck, because this is the type of stuff he does and then he doesn't recognize it. But he's creating a narrative saying that the reason why I'm saying that I had my favorite season is because selfishly I had a best performing year. Not the fact that we outproved expectations. Not the fact that everybody expected us to be nothing and we had to fight and we showed up and we competed every single day and we had to fight for every victory. Not the joy of watching our teammates grow, or not the joy of watching guys who are unproven start to solidify themselves as well through leadership, through chemistry. Like, he maybe not doesn't understand that because maybe he's never had to fight for nothing in his life. Maybe anytime adversity is hit, he's rolled over or he's gave in. So he thinks it's the same thing as somebody who has little to no expectation and they stood up and they made a name for themselves. He may not understand that concept, and that's why he's pushing his narrative. But once again, this is what Stephen A is using his platform for. Let's see what he finishes with.
What happens? What's the remedy? Given all these things you're pointing out, I'm with you. But that's why I brought up the whole trade thing again. What are you going to do about it?
I don't mind. But what I'm saying is the first order of business is that he needs to be quiet and like big.
Let me stop right there. Did he just say I needed to be quiet? Be quiet for who? Man, Stephen A. Stephen A, Stephen B, Stephen C. Like, my offer still stands. You want me to be quiet and stop streaming? Well, I want you to be quiet and get off these networks, because you're not using your platform to do real journalism. You're using your platform to use clickbait. You're using your tell this retire, you know, because he's the face of clickbait media at the point. And maybe with his retirement, we could spark a movement to get the rest of these out of here.
So now we heard Jaylen Brown's response to Stephen A. Snitch, and we know that Stephen A. Snitch, he's had controversy with so many different athletes over the years, you know, that called him out because he says a lot of stuff. And like he always says, he comes out to make his employers money. He don't care nothing about black people but the people that's within his circle. And that's what Jaylen Brown was calling out. Because again, if he's not a problem like you say he is, then that means that the people on Madison Avenue was the problem. That means that the sponsors are the problem. I ain't hear you call them out one time, Stephen A. Snitch. Not one time. Now, by your own admission, you're saying that he's pretty much the perfect guy. Then why are you still speaking on him? Now, Stephen A. Snitch, he heard this response and he came back with this.
But in the end, Jaylen Brown, be careful what you wish for. You really want me to start reporting on that level? You understand? Locker room? How the organization might think about you? How the city may feel about you? How Jason Tatum may or may not have feel about you? Sneaker deals, endorsement deals, the list goes on and on. The season is over, bro. You on Twitch trying to do what I do and talking about me needing to step away. It makes no sense. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm simply making the point that it is not wise after 24 hours of having your season over in the first round for you to be coming out talking about that's your favorite season. It ain't the smartest thing in the world to do. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful. I was trying to sit up there and look out by letting you know this is not a good look. It's not wise. That's all. And I would have respected Jaylen Brown more, Big Perk, Jay, had he come at y'all, had he come at everybody who said exactly what I was saying. But evidently, you understand, when you're talking about clickbait and all of that stuff, somebody told you one of the best ways to get it is to bring up my name. And that's what you did. So who's really looking for clickbait? Is it me or is it you? And obviously, you would think you wouldn't need it. $304 million, NBA player. You don't need it. What you doing it for? Before I even get into it, could you do me a favor, please? Get your ass a studio. You looking like you in some dungeon, some little room or whatever. You making $54 million a year. You're going to make 57 next year, 61 the year after that, 67 the year after that. You're in the midst of a $304 million contract. Get a studio with a director and a producer. Calling up clips of mine, the computer ain't even working right, can't even get the full sound up in there. Get that together. That's number one. Stop being so damn cheap. You got the money. Pay it, okay, for a better production. Number one. Number two, I'm not going to disrespect Jaylen Brown.
It's amazing to me, Jay, Big Perk, Shay, how Perk said all the things he said. You said all the things you said. Wilbon said all the things he said. Everybody said something. And I went on, I've spoken on it on numerous occasions. And you picked some 20-second clip of me talking about how Jason Tatum showed up on First Take, but not your podcast. Stop it. I'm not going to get into all of that. Was Jaylen Brown bringing up the fact that I wasn't reporting when I was raving about him all season long? When I was talking about him for the most of the season as a top 2 league MVP candidate? When I was pissed off and I raised holy hell on the air when he got ejected from the San Antonio Spurs game and he didn't deserve that? When I talked about him leading the pack and doing the things that he's done and solidifying his greatness as an athlete? Did he complain then? Did he complain when how many times that we can't even count when I talked about the brilliance of this young man, his philanthropy in the community, the kind of things that he's done, and I've been raving about that all of these years? Did he complain about my reporting then? No, he did not. When I made news years ago and I was talking about how it's not fair to him, but because he is smart, because he doesn't suffer fools, because he will speak his mind, etc., it's alienating some people on Madison Avenue and beyond, which is why he doesn't necessarily have a sneaker deal and he doesn't get the advertising dollars and has the marketing muscle of, say, somebody like his teammate Jason Tatum. Do you know that I spoke about that and he came to the finals wearing his t-shirt to show me your sources, or to the playoff game rather, show me, to tell us your source or whatever the case may be? You know what? There was no question that I was right. And the bottom line is that his own family came up to me in Dallas and thanked me for talking about him the way that I did, because they recognized the fact that I was showing him respect, not disrespect, okay? He won the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, most valuable player. He won the NBA Finals, MVP, or, most valuable player award. All of this other stuff. Was he complaining then? No. But here he is complaining now. Why? Because he's pointing the finger in the wrong direction. Point it at yourself, bro.
Steven, you could talk to them idiots sitting up there that's doing anything to keep their jobs. You wasn't showing him respect, Steven. Let's unpack that, take the emotion out. If you say that this guy speaks his mind, he's not a bad guy, he doesn't get in trouble, he's outspoken, he cares about his community, and is rubbing people on Madison Avenue the wrong way, then that's more of an indictment on them. You a black man. Were you trying to help him how? We're trying to help him by telling him to tone it down so that way he can make those W folks happy? That's what you telling him? Because that's exactly what you just said. Because at the end of the day, he don't have no scandals. He ain't in trouble off the court. None of that kind of stuff. So what's the problem, Steven? Him being black, he's breathing air as a black man? And he has the audacity to have his own voice? He's a problem? Man, you have just indicted yourself. And the sad part is them bootlicks up there with you, they ain't got the heart to say it. Last year, what's the name, would challenge you all the time. Now he quiet. I don't know what they told him. They must have threatened to fire him or something. Not Big Perk, his name is escaping me. He won't challenge you at all now. He done turned into a down stool pitcher. Man, these guys are jokes, man. Y'all gotta let me know what y'all think, man. If you made it this far in the video, hit that like button, subscribe to Street Media TV, leave your comments in the comment section. Remember, I love y'all. Till the next time, peace.